Hi, Unit 13C is a review day of Unit 13B and A. So all we're going to do is talk about the 6 properties we did for the past 2 days, do some practice problems, and see how it looks. So let's look at number 1. X squared times x to the 4th is x to the 6th. What did I do? Well, I did x squared times x to the 4th is x to the squared plus 4, and that gives you x to the 6th. So looking at a more complicated problem, number 2, this would be x to the 8th, y to the 6th, because that's a 1 exponent right there. Looking at number 3, this is a more advanced problem. You've got coefficients negative 2 and 4. That's just going to give you negative 8. That has nothing to do with the exponent rules we've done. X to the 4th and x is x to the 5th. You've got y and y to the 3rd, that's y to the 4th, and you've got a z sitting there. Make sure that's in your answer. Looking at the next section, power of a power property, or power to a power property, this is where you have parentheses. And I would always say, whenever you have parentheses in a problem, the very first thing you should do is get rid of your parentheses. The way it works is this is x to the 2 times 4, or x to the 8th. Looking at problem 2 for this section, this is still 2 to the 3rd, m to the 6th, n to the 3rd, but whenever you have a number cubed, you need to make that an actual number. So your final answer is 8, m to the 6th, n to the 3rd. For number 3, this is negative 3 squared, x to the 4th, y to the 6th. That's 9, x to the 4th, y to the 6th. For the fraction to a power property, the next section, it's the same thing. There's really no difference. We're going to distribute the exponent. We're going to get rid of the parentheses. It's just now there's stuff on the bottom and the top of the fraction. So this is x to the 2 times 3 is 6. Remember, that's a little 1 there. So it's 1 times 3, y to the 3 on the bottom. Number 2, I don't like the way this is written. I would have written it as negative 3x over 2 with the negative being on the 3. That's the way I would think of it, and that's the way I suggest you thinking of it. So as such, this is negative 3 cubed, x cubed, and 2 cubed. That's negative 27x cubed over 8. Negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Get it? Number 3, this is negative 1x to the 5th over 2y squared. That's the way I would read that. So with that said, it's negative 1 squared, x to the 10th, 2 squared, y to the 4th, which equals 1 x to the 10th over 4 y to the 4th. Do you need the 1? No, you don't need the 1, but it's okay to have it, but you do not. You can just write x to the 10th over 4 y to the 4th. Now let's look at page 2. This is a really short set of notes. We're just, like I said, going over examples here. Quotient of a powers property, this is where you're canceling out. It talks about how you can subtract, and that's really what you're doing. It's m7 minus 2, but I would never write that step. I would think of it as canceling out. 7 minus 2 is 5. Where are they left? They're left on the top of that fraction, which is just m to the 5th. So looking at this one, the numbers, the coefficients, have nothing to do with the exponents, but that means you still have to deal with them. 9/18 is 1/2. You can cancel out an x, there's 3 left on the top. You can cancel out a y, there's 1 left on the top. That's your answer. Again, you don't have to write the 1, but it doesn't hurt. Number 3, there's that negative. Make sure it's negative 21 on the top. Now I'm going to take that negative 21 and 7 and make it negative 3. There's an m left on the top. There's an n left on the top. Nothing's left on the bottom, so you put a placeholder, so it's just negative 3mn is your answer. Zero power property is this one. All of this, because it's to the 0 power, it's just 1. For negative, the way we talked about this is you're going to get rid of your negatives by making it instead of this over 1, you're going to make it 1 over x to the positive 2. You're going to move it on the bottom of the fraction. So the 3 doesn't have an exponent on it, so that stays where it is. The m to the negative 5 changes to m to positive 5 on the bottom of that fraction. For number 4, the 4 and the 6 don't change. The m to the negative 3 actually moves to the top to give you positive 3. Now, don't stop there. You can simplify 4/6. So it's 2m to the third over 3. All right, so that's it for the properties. Now, there were a couple little bitty ones that we didn't talk about formally in the notes, but we did talk about them in class. Those are going to come into play when we do these last examples. So there's 8 examples. I'm going to run through them pretty quick. So let's see how you do. Looking at number 1, negative 6m to the negative 2m is one way to go, but here's what I would do first. I wouldn't do that first. I would get rid of my negative exponent. I would write this as negative 2, m's positive 2 on the bottom, 3m on the top. So that's negative 6m over m squared, which is negative 6 over m. Done. For number 2, distribute your parentheses first. 4 to the negative 3, x to the negative 6, y to the positive 6. You're then going to move your negatives around, so you end up with a 1, 4 to the third, x to the 6, y to the 6. That's the same as 1 over 64, x to the 6, y to the 6. Done. Get rid of parentheses. 3 to the negative 2, z to the positive 10. That's the same as z to the positive 10 over 3 squared. I had to make a positive exponent out of it. That's the same as z to the 10th over 9. For number 4, that x to the 0 goes away. It turns into 1. So this ends up being 5y squared over y to the 4th. What else could I do? You could cancel out y's. So you have 5y squared on the bottom. That's your fraction. Number 5, I'm going to get rid of my negative exponent first. So I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to think of this as one big fraction. The y to the 4th is now going to come to the top. So that's moved. I leave my 25x to the 4th on the bottom. And now I combine like terms. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, y to the 9th on the top, 25x to the 4th. And I'm done, right? No, you're not done. You got to actually cancel out some things. So this is the same as 1/5. The x's completely cancel out because there's 4 on the top and the bottom, and I have y to the 9th on the top. Number 6 is the same, so I'm just going to skip that since I don't have the space. Let's jump to number 7. That's a crazy looking problem. I want to get rid of my parentheses first. So it seems like what I keep repeating is parentheses, negative exponents, and then simplify. So parentheses first. 2 squared, 4x to the 6th, y to the 4th, y to the negative 12th, x to the negative 4th. So now I got rid of all my parentheses. So now I'm going to move things around. Think of it as one big fraction. So I'm starting at the top left, looking at just the top left, that all stays where it is. Top right, that moves to the bottom. Bottom left, that doesn't move anywhere, it just stays where it is. Bottom right, that moves to the top. So with that said, now I can combine like terms. 6 and 4 is x to the 10th, y to the 4th on the top. On the bottom, y to the 17th. Am I done? No, you can simplify the y's. 4x to the 10th over y to the 13th is your answer. So I know we didn't do a couple of them, but hopefully that's enough to get you started on your homework. Try and do worksheet C.